This is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 2. We're here on Xbox Series X, taking a look at the game on Xbox Game Pass. That's right, Call of Duty is now available on the Game Pass. Be sure to like the video, subscribing is great as well. And I thought this was the perfect time to come back and revisit the game, talk about it, and dive into what it has to offer gameplay-wise, as it's now available finally on the service after we've been waiting a very, very long time. At least I feel like I have. I don't know if other people have been thinking that, but that's definitely the situation I've been feeling. So the game has matured a lot and had a lot of changes, I guess you would say, since launch. I mean, all Call of Duty games do, right? You get a wide selection of new maps and levels, you get new content, you get big changes to the way the game plays, the way the game feels, and yeah, they've actually added quite a lot of content to this one since the release of it. So typically for these types of reviews and stuff and these looks at games, I would dive in and I'd show you the campaign. I don't even have it installed. I mean, unlike most people, it's just a good storage saver to get rid of the campaign afterwards. And honestly, the campaign is so bad in this that, like, it wasn't really even worth reinstalling to show you, because A, I don't think people care, and B, it's not really great. Now, I do have a review from when this game did launch, so if you do want my, like, in-depth, like, look and thoughts of the campaign, I would recommend, you know, diving in and taking a look at that, as it covers the different modes. But this is very strictly focused on talking about the game overall, showing off the multiplayer, and giving you an idea of the vibe of the game at a certain point in time in terms of scale, gameplay, and what it has to offer, and the fact that it's now on Game Pass. So you get the core game, and as per usual, it's part of like the Call of Duty hub. So it's this weird, awkward hub that they've created, which was supposed to make Call of Duty more, like, iterative in regards to being like, hey, here's new stuff, and hey, your stuff moves forward. But I guess that's not going to be the case for the next Black Ops, so again, kind of defeats the entire purpose of what they were going for with the hub, but, you know, whatever, it is what it is. Yeah, so it's part of the hub, and then with that, you get access to the different areas. So for Modern Warfare 3 2, you would consider this game to essentially be a campaign which continues sort of lazily the events of Modern Warfare 2 2, which in itself, I believe the campaign, from what I recall, was a bit better, for sure. And then this one has its own campaign where it's like, you know, Price and Soap and stuff are dealing with the situation of the modern era, and they're doing some things. It's not a very long campaign. It's got these just awful open world segments. It's atrocious. Like, honestly, like, it's not even worth your time. Unless you're, like, really into the story they set up with Modern Warfare 2.2 and Modern Warfare 2019, I literally wouldn't even bother with it personally. They just go, you can go watch my stream of it, which, I mean, sounds like I'm pushing my stream, but, like, seriously, there's way, way better things you can do with your time. It's awful. It's that bad. You can watch any of my other Call of Duty gameplay videos or anything like that. I'm not like that for any of the other Call of Duty campaigns. It's genuinely not good. Yeah, downright embarrassing is what it is, I would say. So anyway, so you get that, so the campaign. Then there's the multiplayer, which is what we're playing, so you get a wide range of different maps and setups. It's basically, they just took Modern Warfare 2 2, and they sped it up, and they changed the weapons, while adding older weapons and older maps into this game from Modern Warfare 2 2. So it's basically just an iterative release upon the game that came out the year prior. So yeah, and then the base map set for this game was just all remade levels from the original Modern Warfare 2, which some of them just honestly don't work with the new speed and movement and stuff of this. So some of them aren't the best, some of them are classics that still work well, but some of them aren't the best. And then finally there's like the Warzone type area. So I would consider, when I was doing my initial review, the zombies part of this, but zombies hasn't really had any sort of, like, it's got some quality of life improvements, but I wouldn't really say they've done much with zombies, so I'm kind of marking that off as being more of a I guess you would say, Warzone aspect of the game at this point. But yeah, they've basically got this really awful... They took the DMZ that no one played because they didn't support that, and they just slapped zombies into it, and people didn't really play it. I know some people say they like it, and I mean, that's totally cool for you if you're into it, but yeah, I don't think the zombies in this was really good or even worth your time. But, you know, some people like it, and it's just, yeah, I think it's really lame. So there you go for that. I guess I should have been talking about the technical details of this a while back. I got kind of sidetracked talking about the game, because I want to give you an idea of things, you know, again, the scope of what this offers you for gameplay, and what you get when you do, you know, jump in through Game Pass to play this. So you get the crappy campaign, you get the solid multiplayer, with lots of decent content and stuff like that, with the modern COD as it is until the new Black Ops comes out. And you get the zombies mode, which is more like a Warzone mode than anything that, you know, just really... You know, like, it's gotten events and stuff, but there's not a whole lot to it. I'm gonna switch to the Toke Force and kind of rock that. So on the Series X, you get two different graphical options. So you may be wondering that visually this isn't, like, super clean and sharp. I don't know, maybe on YouTube you're like, oh, I thought this looked great. But, like, there's two resolution options. So there's the dynamic 4K 60, which is, you know, basically 4K at 60 FPS. And then there's this high frame rate mode. So that's what we're kind of rocking here. So if you go over to the settings, you go to graphics, and you got to do this outside of the game because it's locked when you're in the game. So you turn on the 120 Hertz mode, and you can do fidelity cast, so if you want to kind of change the sharpness, but yeah, it kind of makes the game look a little bit weird. And you can change your FOV too if you want to change your FOV and stuff. So it's like a dynamic 1440p hitting that 120 FPS, which is pretty good. Like, if you played this game at launch, and you haven't touched it since, there was like this update like halfway through the game's lifespan, you know, year lifespan, as to say, as Call of Duty is, it's a yearly thing, where they did this just really great visual bump up of the game's performance mode, and it is just absolutely fantastic. Now, obviously, YouTube can't support 120 FPS at the current point in time, but now, since I've got the, you know, Elgato 4KX here, I'm actually able to record, you know, playing this and doing and showing it. Because, like, in the past, I'd have to do this, like my other review video shows it, but, like, I had to do, like, jumping through hoops to kind of make that possible, if that makes sense. Like, the recording stuff, the technology just wasn't there, whereas it is now. Drop shotting, what a loser. So now we can actually just kind of more easily record and play and everything and show stuff off well. That guy just spawned right, he's shooting me after I died. Wow, he's drop shotting and then he's mad he got killed while he's drop shotting. That is the epitome of loserness, is what that is. Holy, absolute loser. Scum of the earth, some would say. Nah, it's just, some people are like that. Anyways, so yeah, we actually get like a really smooth, like close to 120 FPS gameplay experience, which is fantastic if you want to be like super competitive and you know, you want to have the fastest reaction time. Like, obviously, to me, 120 FPS is like the way to go. Come on, he was jumping into my shots. He should have died. There's also HDR support, spatial sound, Dolby Atmos support, console keyboard mouse support. So if you want to plop in the console keyboard mouse, you can do that. So it's just a lean, mean... Well, I wouldn't say it's lean, it's pretty fatty, but you can install different parts of the game. You don't have to have everything installed. You know, you don't want campaign like me. It saves you like 20-something gigabytes. And, yeah, as I said, they've actually... Oh, I'm trying to aim. Anyways, so they've actually added quite a bit of combat and content to this one. Just in terms of, like, different rotating game modes. I miss Horde Point, BT dubs. I actually killed that guy with the grenade impact. That's incredible. There's lots of characters you can buy. They've done numerous battle passes you can buy on top of things, and just so many microtransactions. But it's kind of funny because we're already near the end of the lifespan of this one. We're just finally getting it on the Game Pass, which is kind of humorous, but it's nice to have it. All right, so let's jump into the next lobby. That's me getting shot from the side. Lovely. So yeah, in general, just a lot of content that they've kind of added to this that you can dive into and buy. And at the current point in time, I think we're sort of almost winding down on battle passes for when you're actually able to play this. So I don't know what the situation will be like there, but there's been lots of cool character tie-ins that we've seen. You know, we've got all these different The Boys characters. We've got, like, Spawn, Ash from Evil Dead. There was the Gundam stuff. There was Walking Dead stuff. Really? Wow, Cheech and Chong are in this too, which is kind of funny. There's a lot of things that they've added, which again is a bit of a shame that Black Ops isn't carrying forward this stuff, which, you know, it's not like they're supposed to be on the same engine or anything to be able to offer forward compatibility and, you know, whatever. And then a bunch of guns and carry through stuff. But like I said, they've done a phenomenal job in terms of offering, like, steady, fresh content to this game. Like, that was a big issue I had with Modern Warfare 2 too, was that, like, the maps were great, but it took a long time for them to start adding maps. There was this huge gap where there was all this momentum I had when I was playing and covering Modern Warfare 2 and streaming it. It was doing really good for me. And then they just didn't release anything for months, and I was just like, oh, this sucks. And then when you get back into it, it's like, who cares at that point, right? Whereas this game, not as popular for me, but they've actually had steady content, which again, the irony of the switching of the positions is kind of funny for me, kind of humorous. Yeah. So, very iterative upon the previous entry, but with that, you do actually get a good amount of content, you get a good amount of maps and locations, and they've also done some really cool stuff. They had some, like, I wouldn't say necessarily Halloween, but horror-like kind of things where there's some maps that have a bit of like a plague infestation on them. So they're maps you know, but they've kind of changed them up a bit, which is something I've always sort of really wish Call of Duty would have done prior. Drop shotting? What a loser. Sorry, and drop shotters I can't stand. Scum of the earth. Yeah, so basically it's something I've always wanted COD to do, is like reuse maps, but kind of change up them like a little bit aesthetically, if that makes sense. So you can have a map and have it raining and have it like at night, or, you know, just some different variations that make the maps feel a little bit more fresh. Because that is one issue that I do feel with COD, is like, you know, I love the maps, but man, they just, same atmosphere and vibe over and over again can get a little tiring after you've, you know, played however many dozens of hours upon dozens of hours of a COD, right? It starts to feel repetitive, but I don't think things will feel too repetitive in this game. They've got like I said, a very healthy selection of levels. I don't even know why I'm trying to use the Hurricane on this map. It's better for a smaller map. Or better to have a different gun for a smaller level like this. But yeah, lots of different guns and stuff they've released, and different, like, unlocks that you can actually... There's actually some that you can work towards, and most of them you obviously buy, but there is some that you can work towards. What a tryhard, eh? That Spawn is such a loser. you're drop shotted and like you don't even know where I am, and you're just drop shotted. Like, what a loser. Sorry, I always call out people that play like that because it's just so lame. It really is. Yeah, it always bothers me when people play that way. That's why I call it out. But they got like a lot of smaller maps. Like Sledgehammer, I don't love it because I get tired of smaller levels, but Sledgehammer just has this weird addiction to like having the tiniest array of like like just the smallest maps that you can make. So like their DOS Haas and everything's in this. There's actually some pretty solid levels, but like some of them are just like really another tiny map. It's like, why? But I think they've done a really good job with the rotation and just like, again, the amount of content and stuff for this game is such a step up from the previous game, which I think is something, again, that I believe should be kind of like celebrated, or sort of been, you know, just praising them, basically praising them for that steady flow of content that we've had since the launch of it. See, it's really weird to be jumping back into a Call of Duty game, considering, you know, we usually do the review thing and then we kind of like move on. You get what I mean? And then to have an excuse with the Game Pass drop here to kind of dive into it again, I think is cool. It's actually really cool. Yeah. Sort of fascinating to be here and be like, yeah, we're taking a look at another COD, and just because we never get that like retrospective kind of look, which sounds weird. Like we do retrospective things where we take a look at a game after a long time, but usually that's a longer gap. But to take a look at a game where it's sort of after close, not fully, but you know, like 80% of the way for a year of COD content, being like, hey, here's the evaluation of it kind of at this point compared to when it first released. It's kind of neat to do so, because I've definitely had, you know, a lot of time to play in some finished battle passes and unfinished battle passes, and different weapons and different changes for balancing and guns and stuff to kind of get like a vibe for it. Sucks to suck there, guy. That was, I think, the drop shotting spawn. Yeah. So you definitely get to come back and be like, oh, this has changed, or that's cool, and I kind of like this idea of it. Maybe we'll do something like this for future Call of Duties, but also I don't think there's usually such an excuse as there is right now, considering, you know, obviously, with this Game Pass drop, which is what we're, I wouldn't say celebrating, but it's celebrating finally seeing this stuff arrive on the Game Pass. And I didn't think I would take a look at this one, but I was like, you know what, we should do one that kind of dives in and directly goes over this particular entry in the series. Just in terms, so there's only 3 of them. No wonder we're having such trouble like finding them to like shoot and stuff. And it's like the same guys over and over again. I was kind of wondering. I was like, where? You know, it's like there's not many enemies. It's like the same dude I'm like fighting over and over again. That would explain it. But like this level, I really like. They've added some really good solid maps. And I think the multiplayer in this is actually pretty solid. Like they fixed a lot of the, I want to say, gameplay mechanic and or weapon meta issues that I had with Modern Warfare 2 too, in terms of like the rifles and stuff. They've added some guns that are a little like ridiculous, but I'd say overall they've actually got a pretty solid, well-playing multiplayer Call of Duty sandbox experience to enjoy. And yeah, good amount of game modes too. We finally got Demolition. Demolition's like one of my all-time favorite COD modes, so like it was a bit of a bummer to not have it for so long for Call of Duty. Like it's been gone for so long. And yeah, it was cool to have that mode come back. And then they've done some like weird, I want to say like party kind of modes too, where you like do like running around things, or there's like mutations, and so that they like, and Horde Point was really fun. That was my favorite part of the zombies, because it wasn't the zombies, but they basically just took zombies and injected them into Horde, like into Hard Point, and then there's just like zombies and chaos. It was so cool. It was a great mode, and I kind of like, I'm really bummed out that they haven't brought it back for us to play it again. Like, I mean, I think it was back a couple times, and then, you know, it hasn't been back for a while now. I'm just like, oh, this is rough. Oh, there was a Diablo time, too, which was cool. Okay, next lobby here. Cool, we've got Ash from Ash vs. Evil Dead on this one. Yeah, I really like my roster of characters. I was really hoping that COD was moving towards a scenario where, like, you were just gonna keep them across games, so I'm a little bummed out about that. Guns and stuff, I guess, would be the tricky part of that, but it would have been cool if at least characters actually, like, were kind of kept across the games, if you get what I mean. I mean, they could always port them later, I guess, but probably won't, right? Yeah, so this Call of Duty game was pretty solid in terms of multiplayer, which I think is what the vast majority of people want. And I think if you're checking this out from a Game Pass perspective, you're gonna be checking this out for the multiplayer. Just because, again, the campaign is so... Like, if you want a good campaign for Call of Duty, go and play any of the other older ones. This one just ain't it. But I guess if you're gonna want to eventually understand how the campaign or the story works for, like, a future Modern Warfare down the road, you'll eventually need to play it, I guess. Or you could just, like, read about it. Or, again, I have a stream of it showing it off. Oh, look, there's a rubber ducky. So, I would say, you know, don't even bother downloading the campaign stuff. Just play the multiplayer and enjoy like a fully sort of focused, matured version of Call of Duty, where you're still probably going to get like a few more maps before they, you know, do the next kind of release and stuff like that. And just have a good time with it, because it's just quick, awesome sandbox action of combat. And I think it nails the COD moments pretty well, and it can feel pretty intensive, and it can have some cool stuff going on in it. And there's good game modes, and yeah. I don't know what else to tell you. It's a pretty solid Call of Duty game, and it's just kind of cool to see such a big title arrive on Game Pass. I think that's kind of like, sort of, it must be the Xbox dream to get to a point where they were able to offer something like this. I mean, it did take them having to buy, obviously, the publisher and stuff like that to make this happen, and not like a deal where they paid them. Well, it's going to be cheaper in the long run for them anyways, but you get what I mean. Like, it is just fascinating to actually have such a high caliber important title on the platform. I know it's not day one, but you know, it's still like, it's a good way to play it. It's got a lot of stuff to it, and I think you'll have a good time diving in and enjoying just if you just play the multiplayer, you'll have a good time. The zombies I don't think is really great. That's more Warzone at this point anyways, I kind of feel, for how it's connected. Yeah, the campaign is just awful.